Why brand? Well, if you think about it, branding is all about building awareness for yourself, because if nobody knows that you're there, how do they know how to reach you, and how do they know what you stand for? How do they know what you do? So branding in the not-for-profit arena, and I am with Brandstorm, and I was just actually relating to Matt over there that Brandstorm has been in existence for 3 years, and the first year I avoided networking, and I don't know why I avoided, but I did. And I realized that I was missing a massive component to what I can do, or what I should be doing, and I also wasn't putting my money where my mouth was, because I wasn't creating awareness. So awareness is key to you getting your brand out there. It's key to making people understand what you do, and it's also key to making people have a preference for you. Obviously, new business efforts. When you are in a new business pitching situation, maybe you're going after a job with a like-for-like company, the way you present yourself can make the difference between whether they hire you or not. And a lot of that comes down to likability. Do I like this company more than that company? So if you think about the power of owning your brand and understanding tone of voice and look and feel, which I'll talk about shortly, those are powerful tools that you can start winning more business with. It is fighting for the dollars, especially in the non-for-profit arena, where you may be up against challenging economy, where people would like to give to you, but their dollars are spare, and they're trying to find out which not-for-profit organisation they'd like to give towards. So it's about making your message as powerful and as succinct as you can, so people actually go, wow, that really struck me. That is a company that I'd like to give my money towards in the non-for-profit arena. In the small business, medium-sized arena, well, yeah, it's just as in the small business arena, well, you're also fighting for the dollars. You're fighting for the dollars internally to be able to go out and make awareness. It's breaking through the clutter. Many of you have probably heard this statistic, but in any given day, just going through a normal life here in Lake Forest, in Chicago, no matter where you are in the Western world, you will see 3,000 marketing messages in any given moment, from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep. From the coffee cups you're holding, to the billboards you're seeing, to the TV ads, to the print ads. So you think about those 3,000 messages, and you are trying to compete with those 3,000 messages. Most of it is just blah blah, and you say, I don't want to listen to that because I'm not interested in it. But it makes you think that. Thank you. I brought sound effects, by the way. This is one I call train. Thank you. I'll be presenting these dotted through the presentation. No, it's about see what I've done now. I just lost my train of thought. Sorry. But thank you. I'll be here all week. It's breaking through the clutter, and this clutter can be your worst nightmare, or you can use it to your advantage, because you can say, I am going to make sure that people remember me. This is an example of it, this body here, and I'll tell you a little bit more about it. Those of you who were at the expo probably got a sense of what it is about, but it was one way which I helped an organization in Kansas City make massive inroads in getting awareness. It's also about making people care, because no matter what you're doing, you want people to care about the service offering that you have. And building a brand that resonates with people is at the core of that. So what is a brand? A lot of people, I could throw out what is a brand to this room, and you'll probably get 20 different answers from, oh, it's the logo that I have, it's the tagline. But I believe a brand is more than that. It's the very essence of why you are in business. It's the tone of voice. If you think about a brand as being a personality, you can very easily become a very boring voice. You can become a very repetitive voice. You can become an uninteresting voice. But you can equally become a friendly voice, a funny voice, a voice that resonates, a voice that shouts, a voice that screams. So the tone of voice is imagining who you want to be when people meet you. And hopefully you want to be the most exciting person in the room. And it can be the tone of voice obviously has to marry the industry you're in. I suspect that Wenburn Homes, there's a tone of voice that has to be caring, friendly, authentic. So you can't expect it to be uproariously funny, but you have to have a mindset that says, what is the best voice for my industry? The look and the feel is how you, the picture you paint of your company, the color palettes you use, which should be consistent at all times. Many of you have probably heard of brand guidelines. Brand guidelines allow the brand to follow a set of rules and regulations, and I don't mean in a very strict sense, but rules and regulations that allow people at every touch point for your brand to say, that is Blogo Industries, because I know because their tone of voice is always the same, their color palette is always the same, they consistently use the same typefaces, the same logos. I'm saying this because it's amazing how many times you look around and see brands that kind of are all over the place. They have, the website looks like this, their direct marketing looks like this, they've got 14 fonts, which is one of my pet peeves. Although I did have my own personal, I was doing an art show and I'd created a piece which had 4 fonts on it. And somebody said, hey, I noticed you got 4 fonts on your card. And I went, oh yeah, that. But anyway, it's your internal philosophy. And I think a brand starts internally, because until you get collectively within your company what it is you want your brand to be, it's virtually impossible to put a brand out there. And this comes from experience working with companies. I do a process I call brandstorming, and within the brandstorming I get the 6 or 7 top people within a company around a table to talk about who it is they believe they are. And it's amazing how many times when I get them to actually write an elevator speech, if you're familiar with an elevator speech, that within the company there are 8 different elevator speeches. You think of the implications for the marketing if the company doesn't have a cohesive, sing from the same song sheet voice. That is huge, and I think that I would urge you all to go back and look at what your elevator speech is and whether everybody in your organization is singing from the same song sheet. Because without that, how could people know who you're supposed to be? It then becomes the external presence, the manifestation of the look and the feel, the tone of voice, the fonts, the photography you choose to follow, or the illustration, the style of being that makes your brand. That becomes the external presence and the brand that the world sees. It can be the differentiator. It should be the differentiator. And I'm glad that we have the insurance world here, because there's something that we call Me Too industries, and the financial services industry tends to be that. Give or take a few notches either way, the insurance industry, for instance, is full of like-for-like products and services. So if you are not careful, you can very easily and quickly market the industry rather than yourself. And it was interesting, I was in a networking group actually in this room about a year or so ago, and she's not here, so I feel okay talking about her. And in the 30-second speech, she said, hi, I'm with so-and-so insurance company, and we do not have geckos, we do not have mayhem, we do not have Polly from Progressive. It is Polly from Progressive, isn't it? Anyway, we don't have any of those. We just pure and simple do insurance. Thank you very much. And went around the room and I said, well, I'm Phil Gator from Brandstorm, and I do mayhem. I do geckos. I do create the characters that bring to life your brand in a different way. Because it's when you're in a Me Too industry, it's the differentiators that make the difference. It's the little add-ons and notions that make you stand out from the pack. And I think that I believe that every company has its gecko. I don't mean literally the gecko, but when you're in a space that is very, very Me Too, you have to use elements around you that don't necessarily speak to what it is you are actually doing. And if you think about that as an element, and I don't mean that you have to have a little cute character every time, the difference can come from your name. I worked in Kansas City for 3 years, and I had a company I was working for. They were in Columbia, and they were the amalgamation of 3 banks. And they wanted to rebrand themselves, and I said, well, tell me what it is that makes you different, what makes you unique. And they said, well, we have great customer service. And I went, well, every bank is probably going to say that. And they said, we have online checking, because it was at the time when online checking was just coming in. I said, well, every other bank says that. And they went through a whole list of things that were me too for the banking industry. So I said, well, you know what, you need to find something that differentiates you from the pack. And interestingly enough, inherent in the name you've chosen, because they were actually called Landmark Bank. I said, inherent in that name is an opportunity to own your space in a unique way. Because if you think of the life of anybody that's looking for financial services in the banking industry, you have marriages, births, deaths, colleges, estates going, estates coming. They are all landmark moments. So we created a campaign around and made all those Me Too products landmark moments. So by the simple shift of the way we thought about the products and services, we were able to establish an ownable differentiator. So inherent in all your businesses and industries, there are things that you can lay claim to as being unique. And that is the gold mine that you can own that can lead to the marketing that makes you stand out from the pack. And in view of those 3,000 messages that are out there every day, that's a powerful tool to use. And yes, it is a logo. A brand is ultimately a logo. And I could put up the Nike swoosh there. And the beauty of the Nike swoosh, apart from the fact that they spend billions of dollars every year marketing themselves, is you know when you see that swoosh what it stands for, you know the tone of voice. You could probably write a marketing plan for them. You could probably describe their target audience because they have clearly defined what they stand for. So.